Do you know, there aren't that many people who haven't at least heard of Lord of the Rings. I've certainly seen the trilogy. In fact, there's 6 films now. I've read all the books. In fact, I'm a bit Tolkien crazy really when it comes to it. In fact, that's a message. I think it's probably from Mark Jagger, who's been going on and on and on saying, Xav, when are you going to update us on your Fangorn Forest, on your Oak Bonsai Ents? In fact, not just the Oak Bonsai Ents. I mean, I also really need to give you a catch-up on the original Ent idea, which actually started in December 2022. A Hawthorn and 3 Larches. But that's not all that's coming. I also need to be out there looking and seeing if I can find anything more that may indeed make an extra good Ent. If I can get that rock out from between his legs, he might make one. In fact, because this is oak orientated and there isn't a great deal to do right now, we might even have a look at Susan's Wild West Wood, which is an absolute incredible collection of over 20 oaks. Not quite Fangorn Forest, but hopefully one day that's how my fighting Ents are going to look. Nice and disguised amongst some real oaks. Now that's an idea as well. And if all that isn't exciting enough for you to keep watching, you're also going to see the final part of my Fangorn Forest creation. My daughter Lexi has put together a number of fighting models, including, dare I say it, a rather large winged object. But to see that, well, that'll be somewhere in this video, but it's definitely worth watching for. Hi, yeah, it's Xavier. Welcome to my bonsai retreat, and this is one of those special episodes, definitely, because I know a number of you, certainly Mark Jagger, you're one, have been asking and asking, how are the Ents getting on? How are those bonsai Ents? But you know what? A number of you have forgotten entirely that this project started in December 2022, when I actually started the whole thing off with my Larch and my Hawthorn Ents. Now, for those of you who have got any sort of familiarity with English oak, you'll know that it can be a slow grower, to be fair, and though it puts on this lovely great flush of big large leaves, I very rarely get a second flush. Doesn't mean I haven't, but it's rare. And what I'll tend to do is just clip back to sort of 3 or 4 leaves, maybe cut them in half, do a bit of leaf cutting. So we'll be seeing a bit of that today and try and just bring it into some sort of proportionate shape with the creatures that are down below. And somewhere in there is the Nazgul rock, and you're going to find out why it's called Nazgul rock a little bit later. So what is there to do? Well, a bit of pruning. We need to check on something, but to find out why we need to check on something in there, probably the best thing to do is to skip back to March, when this woke up from winter slumber. Now, what I love most about oaks is that while we're in the sort of probably early stages of March, so still in late winter really, our maples are opening up, the tridents are opening up, a lot of deciduous are starting to say, good morning, I'm glad to be a bonsai. The oaks, meanwhile, are pulling the duvet over their head and saying, can you chat to me in another 2 or 3 weeks, please, because I'm still sleeping. Which means it's perfect to start getting in there and, what I say, my bud selection. You've seen me do it with lots of other deciduous. Well, it's no different for the oaks. I just get the luxury of having a little more time. So I can look down there, and we're using this one in particular, old craggy head here. We've got an arm coming up here and a big long arm coming up there. So really, we don't want this going off too much further than probably, we'll say right now, well, I'd be tempted to bring it all the way back to here actually. And the good thing about oak is that'll shove all those energies there, and we'll get the splits there, and we start creating a sense of fingers. And I'm going to go around and apply that principle all over. Shall we remove his bottom tail? We don't really have many of them, do we? So let's just remove that. We'll leave him, we'll give him one little tail. Maybe we'll have him an Ent. I'm going to wire that out as a tail actually, that'll look good. So in a minute we're going to work our way around these and try and bring these into some sort of humanoidish sort of Ent form. But I think what's going to make this really exciting is that my daughter Lexi, we all know she's the one who made the bonsai database, has got into war model painting or whatever. I don't know, those rampaging orcs, and it's a battle masks, I don't know what it's called. Jason Hanrahan at the Bonsai Garden last year bought me sort of 6 or so orky type characters, and Lexi then has got a few more, plus a very, very special one which may be sitting on top of the rock. You're going to have to wait till the end to see that, but that is impressive. And these are going to form part of my Fangorn Forest Oak Ent battle of the Lord of the Rings. I think it's going to look pretty special. Okay, so all we really need to do now is I've given him a little cincture, a little belt, and wrapped a bit of wire there, and really all I want to do is see if I can create some sort of tail from that without actually breaking it off, which is just as easily done. Actually, it doesn't make it any easier that I've got it so long, so let's shorten our tail off so we can... The rest of these have been clipped right back in. Oh, some of them clearly do look like entoid shapes, this one, and in fact some of these Ents have been so long in the bonsai retreat that they reverted to their original shape of oak trees. And we know that happens because Tolkien told us in Lord of the Rings. So having seen what went on in March, you can well understand now why our little oak here has got a little belt or cincture. So we definitely need to have a little look and see, one, did anything come of that tail? Or, well, is it a sad tale? So let's go back and do a bit of pruning, I think. Now the one thing I realised looking at this, and it's something you've got to watch out for your oaks, is one, powdery mildew, and actually haven't got a great deal of that, and normally the powdery mildew does seem to relate to lots and lots of rain. So thankfully clear of that, so I don't need to do anything about that. But what I can see is some of these leaves have got little peeky holes where you can do some spying. Okay, great if you're a ranger in Fangorn Forest looking for those Ents or those orcs, but not so great if you're actually looking to get a quality bonsai tree. So clearly we've got some bugs, and I can definitely see the signs of that. And the biggest sign, well, it's right here actually, if you have a look right here. Underneath here, you've got little larvae and little aphids, green aphids. I think we've got some definitely here, whole host of them there. And we don't want those little bleeders. And if you miss that, because there's not loads of them, then I don't know if you can see, but on both of these leaves there's that sticky sort of honeydew shine. You'll certainly notice if you put your fingers to it because it's sticky. So we've definitely got to put some spray there. That will be done at the end after I've done some pruning. In fact, we've got it further down here on these leaves here. In fact, there's quite a few aphids that we need to be sorting out. Other thing to watch out for is looking around, we've got some just browning on the edge of our leaves there, and there's a bit of a chlorosis issue there, suggesting could do with probably a little bit more iron, I would suggest there. So what I'll probably do is put a bit of sequestered iron mix in this. So looking again at these, the rules of pruning are straightforward. If you've got branches that you don't want in places, then get rid of them. And I can see here, I think this is our ballerina here, Nureyev. Or it's someone with, if you look at it, crossed legs. That's the one that wants to go to the toilet probably, I think. But I'm looking at that, and do I need this lower growth? No, because it's distracting us from the fact that this is supposed to be an Ent. So we'll get rid of those. And the reason why I'm getting rid of this lower growth is, apart from the fact that it distracts our eye from the fact that we want these to be representative of Ents, we also don't want energy going where we don't want it. We want energy going upwards in this instance. And I've got to decide whether or not I need this growth here. And I think if I remember rightly, the legs are there. I mean, it's a bit tough to sort of really get what I'm saying there, but he's sort of a bit skewy like that with his legs facing the other way. A bit of a confused Ent. I think that's probably the best way to describe him. But either way, this one here is our obvious Ent with the wavy arms right here. So we've got a bit of growth on there, but not loads, so I probably won't do too much, but nothing low. There is a few little oak nubs which are just appearing. I'll show you what I mean. these we want to get rid of now, and whether it's an Ent creation or indeed a proper oak bonsai that you're trying to create, those little new buds are the ones that are going to divert energy away from where you need it. So unless you're wanting a new branch, get rid of them. I think you can see it. We've got here a little nub or bud there. We've got a collection of them there. So let's just tell the tree I don't want those, and we'll get in there with our concave, remove them entirely. The same here. I don't want this tree to waste any energy, energy. Oh dear, I haven't been drinking seriously, and you'll often find this is where you'll get those sort of bud points and lower down, so just get rid of them. Do you know, there's all sorts of hazards, not only me getting cooked by the sun, because you know I've got sensitive skin. I use this Korean sun cream, it's really good. But also, we saw all those green aphids. Well, they're on my hand. Not only do they itch, but there's another one. They're everywhere. Actually, I'm now starting to pink up. Let me just go get a top before we deal with some of the obvious things, which is right here. We've got 1, 2, 3 coming from the same junction, so we still need to sort that out. Oh, now that is horrible. You know when you've been down to the beach, you've got sand all over your feet and everywhere, and then you have to put a shirt over because, oh dear, it feels the same. I've been in a short sleeve shirt all day, and yeah, I'm a bit sensitive to things like that. Bit of a wimp really. So if we look at this one, obviously looking at this from the front, he's turned away slightly, but there's one arm. This is where I am going to carve a little face, so I'm quite happy to have this going out. Got a branch that's underneath here that I've got to decide whether I want. But if we look at this great clot of stuff here, we've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4 coming from low, and then the original arms which were up here, I've got then 1 or 2 shoots. Now I have to decide, do I actually want to have horizontal arms, or do I want to have arms up in the air? Now horizontal arms would make loads and loads of sense for happy clappy people, but I think in this instance I probably want to have the arm coming out this way, so I'm going to remove all of these. Personal choice, you could have gone for your Ent with your arms out flat, but I want them to be threatening, so let's get rid of those. There we go, so we've got one arm going out that way and this arm's going up. I don't want this inward thing developing. That can continue to grow out. In terms of number of leaves on it, we've got this one that's growing up, and sometimes we've got to start saying this is representational of the Ents, but I don't actually want to go too far because I could actually just remove that and continue to grow that. What I am going to do is just shorten it off. And the reason I want to shorten it off is so that the energy goes this way, and maybe we'll get a little bit of subdivision and create something interesting here. But the main strength, I want this to continue to grow out. As a result, I am not going to be taking off the tip. I'd like this to be a bit thicker if I can get it that way. And yes, some people would have said if you kept that, that too would have thickened this branch. So we've got the arm there. We've got, if we look here, we've actually got a lower, let's just get rid of one of those leaves. In fact, let's just get rid of a few of these leaves so we can see what we're doing. In fact, we'll get rid of that one as well. Okay, so we've got something going upwards, and then we've got a smaller one there that's quite weak, but I like this one here. So rather than having him with that one going up, let's remove that. So we're trying to spread these arms further apart, and then if I look in closer down here, I've got some more growth coming from that junction, which I don't actually want. So I'm going to remove those. And then that leaves us second one behind, and this lower one here, which for now I'm going to keep. I'm going to remove one or so leaves. I'm going to remove this big leaf here. And the reason why I'm going to remove those leaves is now, when I give this a spray, it's going to get a nice clear covering, but it's also going to be a lot of air getting in through there, which is what we still need. So that's probably as far as I want to go with that one there. The reason for keeping this one up here for now is I still want to be continuing to build energy in the actual tree itself. If I start taking away too many branches, then it's a bit like a sacrifice branch really. I'm using it to keep the tree healthy and to continue to help feeding energy upwards on the tree. Actually, acorn caps. Now, if anyone in the UK can find me some acorn caps, I'll have a little look around myself. Feel free to send me a few acorn caps, because actually I think we could put little acorn caps on these and that could look quite amusing. I do amaze myself. Okay, so we now need to apply that same process to this great big bunch here. Now this one has less of an ent form about it. I think I called it a lazy ent. You know, when I did that, a load of green aphids flew all around me. Gosh. Oh, you see that when you do this, it's oh my gosh, they're all over the place. That's the other risk. When you've got loads of aphids and you get them all over your trousers and everything, when you walk back inside, make sure you wash your hands and make sure you don't dig into dinner straight away, because otherwise you can have more than your fork in your plate of food, and you don't want that. Definitely this was one that was sort of lazing and just sort of, hey, take life easy, you know, easy ent, cool ent. So I think the head is going to be here. We can fashion it again, little acorn cap, absolutely perfect. So there's an arm here, that's an arm, and that's not really doing anything at all. So I think in this case, to help us bring it back into what we see as a humanoid looking creature, we do need to get rid of that. And so now we can see we've got the shape at least somewhere, if I put a face there, of something with its arms up in the air trying to scare away our little hobbitses. Do I need all this growth up here? Again, it's impressionistic, so what I do want to do is here we've got 3. I want to get rid of the big one. The arm's going up. If I've got anything on the inside, I'm happy to keep those. Get rid of one of those. Perhaps get rid of that one there. Definitely get rid of that one. Normally on a spread of leaves there may be between 5 and 6 different leaves on it. I'll normally reduce it down to about 3, and anywhere they're going to be overlapping. So this one here, get rid of that one. That's sort of a shaky. He's got lots of fingers, loads of fingers. Dancing phalanges. Not sure, I actually quite like having that. And again, if it has the face, then the fact that it may have 3 arms is probably not going to be as distracting. I just think if I can reduce and get rid of that, then that tree, it's healthy, it's going to send energy elsewhere next year. So let's go ahead and do that. And although you won't see me doing it all the time, I've got some cut paste. What I will do with these is just make sure, because they're all sort of pencil thickness cuts I'm making here, I am just going to seal these just to try and reduce the risk of infections going in or any sort of unwanted dieback. But let's get around to this back one, because it's got a lot of growth on it. And actually, if we're looking deeper, whoa, he's got a little doodah growing from deep down there. We don't want that. Let's cut his doodah off. There we go, all gone. There is just the split of his legs coming to his waist here. Got a very slimline waist there, size 10 I think. And oh gosh, dead branch. That's no. Oh gosh, that's no good. I just noticed. Got a dead branch on that ent. Ah, one-armed ent. Oh well, that'll be all right. Now it goes without saying, I'm taking a lot of leaf mass off. It's going to have to go somewhere shady. It's going to have to be looked after a little bit, because what we don't want is the remaining leaves to brown off. And yes, I have had many occasions where this sort of work now in early June does end up producing a smaller secondary flush. So don't be surprised if you get that extra flush, but don't rely on it. The only reason I'm a little bit sort of thoughtful about whether to remove this top one is I do need, bear in mind that's died off, I do need to make sure that this has actually got enough of a reason to keep sending nice healthy juices upwards through the tree. So I'm actually going to keep that one going for now. But there we go, so we've got our shapes there. For those of you who noticed, yes, I took part in that technical art of weeding, and hopefully that's now less distracting. You can actually see properly what we've got here, and you know, it's quite magical. And we've got Dragon Rock there. I wonder why it's called that. And he looks quite good from there. These truly, I mean, you can see this one better from there, actually, the crossed legs and the arms coming out. I'll say it, and I think this is the hardest thing about when I do these longer term projects. Sometimes you may feel like, oh, I haven't seen that for a while, and the reason why is because they're plants. No matter how much I want these to move on quickly, I can only move at the pace they are. If I try and rush through, take off too much growth, all I'll end up doing is killing it. And do you know what? The reality of that branch going on that tree there could well be because I was in too much of a hurry to delineate arms. All I need to do is let that growth really go on and create a strong branch. But that's what we've got there so far. And I thought, while we're at it, this stickiness is everywhere. And so I thought I'd share with you my new toy, which I got as a direct result of the money that I've made off YouTube from yourselves. Thank you very much. And again, I'll remind you, most of what comes from YouTube does get recycled into either the trees, the pots, or indeed mainly things like fertiliser and soil, which really are the big costs for me. Yeah, I've bought myself a big 5 litre sprayer that I can pump up and put pressurised on it. It's got a nice hose on it, but 5 litres. That must be some of the spray going up my nose. Always good for health and safety. Got a little look. I've got a little strap, a carrying strap, so I can then walk around the garden, and I can carry it over my shoulder if I want. I think to be important is to get it under. So I love my new toy. Thank you very much. It's down to you that I can get it. There's definitely some really important, exciting stuff to do with this, which I know a number of you are waiting to see. It has everything to do with what Alex was doing not too long ago. In fact, I'll give you a quick taster right now. Here we are at the painting studios, where daughter number 1 is now painting up some of my orcs, my incredible oak forest, Fangorn bonsai forest with Ents. Look at that. She's got a little thingy she holds in her hand. What's it called? No.
Model paint holder?
No, the paintbrush. That's what it's called. It's called a paintbrush.
Oh, that thing.
So show us how you do these expert techniques. Look at the colours on that.
I can't right now. I haven't actually put the colours in the palette.
Okay, well, the next time you're going to see those is clearly, look at all those colours, when I start putting together this bonsai forest. So, for those of you who are with me right from the beginning, I mentioned back in December 22, I got some bare sapling, 2-year-old Hawthorn and Larches, and 4 of them, I did an episode where I actually wired up the roots, and I think I probably underestimated how long it would take. And those roots on these pots are going down and are actually covered in wire. So what will really need to happen is the wire to become part of the roots as they strengthen and get stronger. And unfortunately, as you probably all guessed, the only way they're ever going to be strong enough to be self-supporting is if I get loads and loads of growth. I'm sure I remember one of them is actually sitting on a rock, and I think it might be this one that's actually sitting on a rock. And then again, just the wire down here, a little split there to show legs. So I think it's going to be quite a while before we see these joining their oak compatriots in their battle against the orcs and the evil of Sauron. So let's start on the Hawthorn, and I'll take a punt and show you what I'm going to do. If it was going to be this tall, I want that to keep growing. I want that branch to keep growing. They're the 2 arms probably. So we'll get rid of that lower one. I don't want anything there. I want to take the growing tip, the growing energy that's going upwards out of it, and see if that's going to send that energy elsewhere. I do think the answer is going to be, it's going to be a trunk chop right down at the base. Let's take more of this out. In fact, let's just take all of that growth out. The good thing about Hawthorn, they backbud, so long the roots are healthy, which they should be, I'm going to let this continue to grow, see how it is next year, and it may be that in March time next year I end up cutting that right down here, seeing if I can get some growth going for arms a lot lower down and making that more in scale. Should we have a look at a couple of the other larches? And you can see it's the same issue here. We've got this great height here, whereas actually technically the waist is going to be all the way down there. Now the trouble with this, I do know that larches won't back bud down here, so unless I do something like a thread graft, which I probably won't do for this project, I'm hoping, in fact, I think this is the one sitting on a rock. It may work, but I've got to basically keep these. It may be that he's got a very long body, which means all of this isn't going to be wanted. I can create almost a great big hair bear head. So let's try and do that. We'll do like a conical head out of larch. Maybe that'll actually look quite good. So it's sort of an idea of a head here. I'll wire these into arms. That might work. Which means I don't really need this big one at the back. I don't need it. So let's get rid of it. So I've got the wire. It's not about trying to make them look like real arms or that, but you're just trying to differentiate as two objects going in the air. So he's definitely seating that way. So we've got a little interesting army shape there, which again, if I get the ramification, I'll be able to build a pad on that. And this probably, I just want to put what I'm trying to do is just get a little bit of movement in this branch so it's not dull and boring whatever happens. And whether this, got to be careful not to overgo it. There we go. I'll leave it like this. Looks a bit confused, doesn't it really? Head, arms, very, very long body, but it's an ent. And what's that? Tail, something sticking out of his back. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing with these two. It's very easy with here because I've got an arm there. I've got this great big growth here, which probably not needed, so let's just cut that back. That's going to be part of the hand, I think. I don't know. We don't want this growth up here, so we'll get rid of that. So there's our head is in there. Get rid of any of that. Our arm, don't want that in the shoulder. So our arm's either going to grow from there somewhere. Shorten those off. You get the, yeah, I think you can see clearly what I'm doing here. So having just removed that, it is occurring to me that these may just take a little bit longer than I want. So I do have another option. I could actually find something from the existing trees that I've got, and certainly, although this is a root over rock, it does look a lot like an oak astride a rock. It's having a bit of a squiz down while it has a smoke or a drink, maybe. That could make an ent. Or indeed, if we look at this hawthorn, I suppose all I need to do really is cut him back a bit. Got some odd legs and stuff going on down there. Got a back bit we don't want, so we'll get rid of that. Got a tail. We like tails. In fact, that's reminded me. There was something about the main Fangorn forest and a tail. Need to go and check that. Yeah, it occurred to me. We had the little cincture belt, and I don't know if I mentioned it, but there's the tail there. So we'll let the tail wag. Now the only other thing I'm going to be doing with these before we finish it off, and I know certainly you're all waiting for it, probably the peak of it, got some fertiliser again. I bought this as well with the funds from YouTube, and this is a 2 litre, and what I wanted to do is have different ones. So the bigger one is for my bug spray, but I know the 5 litre is always bug spray. This is going to be my 2 litre general mix fertiliser, and then I've got a 1 litre one that I've got, which is for specialised high nitrogen. And then I've got another one for sequestered iron, which I use less regularly. So what I will do is give this a good watering with, I think it's actually a 10-10 mix, and I've got this from Notion Bonsai. What a surprise that is at the moment. And give it a good soaking. And indeed I'm going to do that with all the others that you've seen today. And again, it's a different way of doing it, but I like the fact I can control the way this is coming out. So I I think it's time to get some Lord of the Rings figures in there, don't you? And here they are, Alexandra's figures. So shall we put our Orcses, or these are actually, they're Orcses, I think they actually come from Battlehammer. But I don't know, they're probably going to blend in and we're going to hardly see them. So have them around. I think this would look even better if I did it with moss. So in fact, can you hear in the background, that's the pots and pans of the washing up being tossed around ready for battle. Got here, big one there with a big chain and ball. So we'll have him at the front. The arrow guy there. And there they are, all in position. We've got the Ents behind them, unbeknownst, but these are our attacking orcs or warhammer figures there. Totally unaware they're going to get taken from behind there. And we've even got someone in reserve here ready. But again, even there, this tricky little orc has got behind this guy here. But unbeknownst to him, we've got the archer right here, ready to fire in. So I think this pack is in trouble. But of course, in the early days of any skirmish, the dark side has always got an advantage. I think it's coming now. And this is on pain of death that I get this right. But of course, he has to have a rider. We've got a little rider there. And there you go. I think the tide of the war has most definitely changed to the dark side. So what do you think? I mean, clearly these oaks have got a long way to go yet. I've got the larches to go in. I've still got the hawthorn that are growing. This project's going to take a long, long time. But you know what? There's absolutely nothing stopping you having just a little bit of fun. You're still doing your bonsai, but you're getting a bit of enjoyment too. And I love doing stuff like this. I don't know whether you call it traditional Penjing, but when you put all those figures in there, it just gives you something else to do. You know, you want to paint up models or anything like that, you can combine your hobbies. Absolutely fantastic. This is pretty good, but there is one more thing, just one, that really is going to be the defining feature of this. And that is, of course, the final planting destination. You know I've got it in this deep pot because they're oaks and I want them to establish a really strong root structure first. But ultimately, this needs one thing only. Real craggy, real old and bark and fighting and horrible and yucky. I think what it really needs to be is on a slab. And I'm going to start looking. And it could be a lot bigger than this. But you imagine this on a slab where you can really start building risers and you can actually separate and create things so that these figures can be on their own pedestals. And that's how I'd have them, like on rocks, attach them so the figures stand out as well. But you know what? That's been a lot of fun and it's only going to get better. It's still hard to try and picture it, but there it is. The painting on this, I don't know whether they're called bog riders or bog lizards or something. Absolutely incredible. Spent weeks painting that, and I've got to now carefully put it back in its display. I said that we'd get to have a look at this Wild West wood, and well, I think we've gone on all along. And you know what? The sun is right there, and I've got this really big red thing on my nose, so I think I'm burning and crisping up. You've seen loads about oak. You've seen exactly where my plans are for Fangorn Forest and the various Ents and action figures that go with it. And ultimately, I need to find a way to design that slab. Never made one before, so I'm going to have to start looking online and find out if we've got some good tutorials on how to make some sort of slab for this. Enough for now on that. We're not going to see this, and truthfully what I was going to say to you is actually the growth it's had is pretty good, and this year I actually don't want to do any pruning at all. There's lots of variation, there's lots of light. All I need to do is spray some bug spray, get some fertiliser on it and enjoy it, just like our fisherman there who's got a nice crop of fish in his hand. So Hopefully that's been a big thumbs up for this. Hopefully you're going to subscribe and you want to see more content, especially if you want to see how Fangorn Forest develops. That's definitely a reason to put notifications on. Apart from that, if you want to see the other 2 videos related to that, there's the playlist. Happy bonsai and God bless. Cheers.